Welcome to the Digital Dreaming off the Good Iron Podcast. It has been a minute for those of you who celebrated Eid and Ramadan. Eid Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak, belated. Obviously, it was last week, but a week from today, the last week, which was obviously so I'm a week and a past. I can't speak right now. My brain's fried because of Friday, but let's get right into it today. I'm joined by my co-host with the most, Cortez Branch, number 24. So Cortez, go ahead. Let the people know what you've been up to for the past 2-3 months.
Hey, so last time I showed up, we had talked about the football rules and what we were doing and how my game was gonna go. And I gotta say, my game went great. I played great in Costa Rica, probably better than I have in years. So I'm 100% ready to go again and make this thing happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And those of you
Really happy about that.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're gonna get into that. But let's kind of talk. Let's run through the topics we have today because we have a jam-packed lineup for today. Obviously, today is the second day of the NFL draft. That is pretty much, obviously we got Jalen Carter, we got Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. So we'll get right into that. Niners will be drafting today. We also have NBA action. The first round of the playoffs is pretty much wrapped up. Obviously, for my Kings, I'm very sad. But hey, a great season, nonetheless, and notwithstanding. So we'll get into that too. And then obviously last but most certainly not least, WWE wrestling and just ultimately kind of what has been happening since WrestleMania. And obviously, what the current state of WWE is now, because there's been some pretty serious headlines and pretty serious kind of traction, that's been happening in the world of pro wrestling. So let's start off with yep. And so let's go start off with obviously the NFL draft. So let's talk about your Bears, Cortez, and let me ask you which team stuck out most to you in the draft yesterday?
Probably the Houston Texans.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm say.
Houston Texans, they made some moves yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I'd say Houston Texans, and then the Carolina Panthers also made a bunch of moves, and but that was expected though. Like the trades they did last season, they got what they were worth. I don't think this year's draft is the Bears draft. I think that they got a good offensive tackle. I'll tell you that much. They got the best offensive tackle in the draft, at least as far as the numbers show. But they're gonna do even more next year in next year's draft, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. I think, obviously, Houston Texans, DeMeco Ryans coming from the San Francisco 49ers, baby. Yes, sir. Obviously, with that lineage of, the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, the assistant coaches going on to other places and, obviously being, successful or just being head coaches. I think, over 3 just right now, right. Mike McCoy, Mike McCoy, is that? No, Mike McDaniel, apologize. Mike McDaniel, Bob Saleh, and now obviously, DeMeco, right, over there in Houston. I think now they're in pretty much, they're in situations, set up for success. The Houston Texans definitely, stuck out to me. I hate to say it and I hate to admit it, but the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Philadelphia Eagles, definitely
Eagles did a great job.
Yeah, I as an Irish fan, I hate, it still stings, right? Still stings, it's fresh, the wounds, but gotta give credit where it's due. Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, great head coach and great GM, and obviously, the proof's in the pudding, right? They made the Super Bowl, they almost won it. And so yeah, ultimately, I think it's there's gonna be a lot more moves to be made today. The Panthers, obviously, like you said, they made some serious good moves. I think like you said, the Bears draft not gonna happen this year. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing with Niners. I don't know if it's going to be Niners draft either. They're starting at 99 today, and then we'll see where they go. I'm not sure. Obviously, the third and the fifth rounds. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have basically worked their magic in those rounds. So maybe, we might see some more magic this year. So but it's yet to be seen. So. And let's talk about. So now that was the NFL draft. Let's talk about some other NFL headlines. Mr. Aaron Rodgers has finally been traded from the Green Bay Packers to the New York Jets, kind of, referencing, the previous topic of head coaches. Bob Saleh will be working with Aaron Rodgers for the first time in his career as head coach. Zach Wilson's mom obviously tweeted, and Zach Wilson tweeted, he's looking forward to the competition. So, and Aaron Rodgers said something about, he was going to make Zach Wilson's going to make his life hell on the field, and Aaron Rodgers is going to make his life heaven off the field. And that's kind of sus, but, let me get your take, obviously, on NFL free agency in a nutshell, and kind of Aaron Rodgers now obviously on the New York Jets. What are your expectations, for the New York Jets this coming season? And what do you kind of look forward, or I guess obviously as a Bears fan, kind of what do you look forward to, obviously, in the NFC North without Aaron Rodgers in the division moving forward?
I don't think that they're going to be good.
Mhm.
I don't think the Jets are going to be good.
Mm.
I think that I think they're one, having Aaron Rodgers overrates them. I think that number two, Aaron Rodgers playing in the NFC Central or North. It's because not the Central here; it's the North. I think that Aaron Rodgers playing in the NFC North played a huge role in his his ability to be successful. But at the same time, let's face the facts here. If we were going to put up the Aaron Rodgers against any other quarterback, is he really that successful?
Yeah.
He's got one NFC championship. That's the same as Rex Grossman. Yeah, he's got numbers. He's got numbers. How many NFC championships does Purdy have?
Brock Purdy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have any, but he made the NFC Championship game this year, so maybe he'll get one this year. We'll see.
Oh, so you mean that he has the same number as Aaron Rodgers?
In the last day.
Oh. Now, me being primarily a Bears fan, I'm gonna have my bias against Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying that he hasn't been a great quarterback throughout his career. I'm just saying that I've always thought that he was overrated. I thought he was overrated since the moment that he stepped in for Brett Favre. And that's nothing against Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Ayahuasca, do your thing, bro. Like, nothing against him for that. I'm just thinking that, there are other better quarterbacks than him. There are better quarterbacks than him, and he's old, and he's on ayahuasca and whatever else, magic mushrooms, and sleeping in dark caves in the middle of the night. And I think that, that's cool and all, except when it's not cool. So I think Aaron's gonna have some explaining to do when the season comes around, because you're gonna see that he isn't as bad as what he thinks he is. Not playing in New York. Like, New York cold and Chicago cold are two types of cold. Wisconsin cold is a different type of cold. But yeah, New York fans don't love you if you're not playing good. Green Bay fans do. Yeah. I don't think he ever got booed in Green Bay.
Yeah.
They will boo you week one, Mr. Rodgers. They will boo you week one if you're not spectacular.
Yes, sir. But, I actually am going to go the other direction. I think he might actually succeed. The reason I'm thinking that is because the Jets finished, I think a little bit under 500 last year. And I think at one point they were 6-3. I think the quarterback play was a difference maker for them. And I think not necessarily do they need an elite quarterback. They just need a game manager. I mean, they have Breece Hall in the backfield. They have, they have obviously Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie of the year. They have a lot of weapons there. And they obviously have Rob Saleh, who's a great defensive minded coach. And I think that is going to it's going to help Aaron. And obviously the AFC East being what it is, not too much competition outside of Buffalo. Well, there's competition in Buffalo and Miami. I have to take that back, right? I have to walk that back because Buffalo, Miami, the AFC East is a tough division. But I do think the Jets, being how competitive they were last year in that division and looking forward to this season, there's definitely, an opportunity for them to, if maybe make a wild card run, and snap the longest postseason drought and if the current active NFL postseason drought, of 13 seasons. So that's just my,
his best case for success here is a wild card run.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I think that, he's not going to win a Super Bowl championship. Unless they make some serious moves. I mean, the Jets are not a Super Bowl team. And obviously, I do love Sauce Gardner. I follow him on Twitter. I love his tweets. I love that persona. I love how, there's a lot of great, young talent on the Jets. On the secondary, obviously, we talk about the backfield, obviously the receiving core. But I do think, there is still there's still a lot yet to be desired for them to be, taken seriously as a contender. But I do think he could potentially perform well. The reason why I'm saying well is because, even though the expectation for him, like you said, is to make a Super Bowl, and he's only been to one, he's won one, congratulations. But he's been to five since, I think, right? And he's lost every single one of them in the past decade. I mean, there's something to be said about that. If he's able to take the Jets to an AFC Championship game, I don't think he can. At least not with his current roster. Maybe he can. But the fact is, the AFC is a more loaded conference than the NFC. I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes out in KC. You got obviously Josh Allen in the same division as Aaron Rodgers. You also have Joe Burrow, right, in Cincinnati, right, with that squad in Cincinnati. So the Bengals are obviously, always there every single year. So I mean, do I pick them to be a top 8 team off the bat? I don't. I think, in order to be, clinch a playoff spot, to have top 7 record, out of 16 teams, I mean, it's going to be an uphill climb. But all things considered, the Jets were in a position to do things last year. I mean, it's just the recipe was not necessarily throwing the ball. Granted, Joe Flacco did have a 300+ yard game last year. He threw 4 touchdowns and he won that game. I think it was a week 2, week 3. Filling in for Zach Wilson. You also had Mike White, I think his name is right. The other
how many quarterbacks are on their roster now?
I actually don't know. I don't know.
So we're looking at Aaron Rodgers as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay $120 million in arbitration
to
ride the bench.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers is the starter.
Right.
So next from Aaron Rodgers, we have Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Is Joe Flacco a free agent?
I think so, right?
I think he is.
Yeah. I think Mike White is also, I don't know if he's coming back as well. And it's funny you mentioned the quarterback roster. I think the Niners are actually pushing for that rule. What we talked about last time at the NFC Championship game, right? Not being able to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. The Niners are basically pushing. I don't know if that rule's changed yet or not. Maybe it was, but I think that, if the team is allowed to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster, it allows a lot more. I mean, it gives them a lot more buffer, in the case of, court depth or kind of, injuries and that's actually been the Niners' Achilles. We've always had a team that's been ready to win a Super Bowl, but we've just been one quarterback away from winning it all. And that lack of a franchise quarterback has been the Niners, like I said, Achilles for the past however many years, the past decade. Actually, I mean, I'm going to go further. It's past what, 2 decades, right? Since Steve Young retired, almost actually a quarter century since Steve Young retired. So
20 years.
Yeah, 25 years. Sheesh. I mean, so you look at the Jets too, like you said, right? 50 years, all right, since they won a Super Bowl. I think that's, and again, not having a franchise quarterback, I mean, but having that franchise, even though Aaron Rodgers in his twilight years, if he's asked not to do too much, then I think he'll do well. But if he's asked to be the Aaron Rodgers of old, I think it's going to be an uphill climb. And I think maybe your prediction will hold some more water if he's asked to do more, because obviously in his age, and in his advanced stage in his career, about to be 40 years old, in the season, basically not when it starts, but obviously through the duration of the season, right? He's going to be 40 years old. I mean, it's going to be difficult. I mean, we haven't seen too many 40-year-old quarterbacks be successful outside of, one Tom Brady. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So
it's gonna be fun to watch. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. And obviously with your division, the NFC North, I mean, what are your predictions coming this year? I mean, I think, the Bears actually, even though, because the Bears adding DJ Moore, we didn't talk about that. They added DJ Moore, and obviously, they got they swapped that draft pick, right, with Carolina to get DJ Moore. And so that's why, like you said, Carolina won the draft, so far, or they're actually one of the top performing teams in the draft so far in the NFC. I think DJ Moore, it's with Justin Fields. I mean, he didn't have anyone to throw to last year, and he still had 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. I think he had over 10 on the ground rushing, right? So I mean, there might be an opportunity for him to progress. And the NFC North. I mean, obviously you still have Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins in the in the North. You still have obviously Jared Goff and the Lions, basically trying to re-up, that secondary. And they basically did re-up the secondary because they signed Emmanuel Mosley from the Niners. It still hurts. So, but I think the Bears are also in a position, they're primed to potentially make a playoff run. Maybe they'll win the division. When I went on a radio show back, 5 years ago, October, it's going to be 5 years in November, when I was on Hotspot Radio back in Chicago, when we were actually doing our thing, right, with Illinois Carnage and then obviously the Watchers and everything. I basically predicted the Bears to win NFC North, and they ended up doing that. Because I actually got to go to 2 games and see how well, they played against both the eventual Super Bowl champion Patriots at Soldier Field, and obviously against the Seahawks to open up the season. They sacked Russell Wilson, was it 5 times? Brian Urlacher was basically there, to basically be honored at halftime, for his Hall of Fame induction back in 2018. So I'm looking at the Bears right now, and it's a favorable situation for the Bears in the NFC North, because you look at, like I just said, the Minnesota Vikings are kind of topsy-turvy. They had the worst point differential of any 12-plus win team last season. The Lions, even though they got better defensively, we need to see if that defense will come together, because if that defense is kind of as bad as it was last year, where they allowed over 440 yards per game at the start of the season, there's going to be a lot to be desired there. But what is your take on the Bears? Kind of, like you said, the draft isn't going to bode well for the Bears, but their free agent acquisitions may have actually, helped them a little bit, to push that needle a little bit forward. So what are you expecting from the Bears this year?
Honestly, I think the Bears have a great chance to take the division.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just, Homer doing his thing over here. It's the Lions are going to be the Lions. And I'm a firm believer of that. The Lions are going to be the Lions. I think the Lions are going to always be the Lions. That's because of ownership. I think the Green Bay Packers are rebuilding. I think the Minnesota Vikings will be a contender. They just picked up another wide receiver. I don't know why they picked up another wide receiver. Probably because they let Adam Thielen go. But I'm not mad at them for trying to build their receiving core. After that, it's pretty much going to be a toss-up between the Bears and the Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't think that any other team in the division is going to do anything. What do we got? Cleveland?
No, Cleveland's on. It's going to be what? Chicago?
Oh, yeah, Cleveland's.
AFC.
Yeah, it's only 4. Chicago, and Chicago, and not Indianapolis either. Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Green Bay, kind of to your point, and that's what kind of what I was getting at. I don't know if Jordan Love is going to be able to, do so well in his first. We saw Trey Lance kind of struggle his last year. This is even though he only played 2 games. I mean, based on the body of work we've seen from Jordan Love so far, we haven't seen enough for me to be convinced that he's ready to take the helm, right? Obviously, Mike Murphy and obviously Michael Furr, right, coach, basically they have a lot invested, in Jordan Love, like just like how Niners have a lot invested in Trey Lance, right? Yep. So, but until they prove otherwise, and again, so, this is me as an Niner fan saying that, we need to see it all come together, right? Potential is one thing, but production is another. Everyone has potential. You can be a dual threat QB and you can be phenomenal, but I do think one thing about Justin Fields is that, even though the Bears finished 3-14 this past year, he had some pretty good highlight plays, even against Green Bay. I think that second week when they traveled, or that opener, whenever it was, when they traveled on Sunday Night Football to go play Green Bay at Lambeau. He made it. I think it was almost 23-28, and then they called back that last rushing touchdown, and then kind of, Aaron Rodgers seals the deal. But I think now, kind of to your point about, the division, I don't trust in Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he might be able to, rack up regular season numbers, but in prime time, those games, he's not good, right? I do trust Jared Goff because he's proven he can make playoff run with the loaded roster. However, this roster is still, it can build upon how they did last year. Maybe they can do it. I just need to see the defense before I can just, say yes, the Detroit Lions taking the division. And the reason why I'm high on the Bears, like I just said about Justin Fields, because they added a lot of weapons around him. It gives them an opportunity to develop. And again, I'm basing a lot of this on my kind of just potential, right? But I think that there's something to be said about a quarterback who can make plays both with his feet and his arm. And with the lack of a receiving core, he still threw 17 touchdowns and basically account for almost over 25 touchdowns in the season. So that's just where I'm coming from there. So I think ultimately I agree with you. The Bears should be in the mix, at least, if not the favorite, should be the top 2, or if whatever odds to take the division, if not Detroit or Minnesota. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Let's get an NBA now. Let's talk about NBA. So obviously the Kings are. Yep. What was that?
I said, woo.
Woo. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about it. All right. So the Milwaukee Bucks were eliminated. The Milwaukee Bucks were eliminated yesterday by the Miami Heat. Giannis obviously been out, and they're the number 1 seed. And it's pretty shocking that the Miami Heat now not consecutive, but both playoff postseason appearances where they basically had to play, the Bucks, they beat them and they upset them both times, and it was kind of unexpected, both times. So obviously now, with the playoffs now, obviously the Sacramento Kings, my poor Kings, they have to. My last episode, I talked about the Kings, and someone commented, yeah, they got good luck against the Warriors. I said, yeah, we're gonna need it. And hey, man, you see what happens. They're the 4-time defending champions. You go up 2-0, but then you let that last game slip. HB, you didn't make that three. Now they're down 3-2. There's a potential of them getting closed out tonight in San Francisco by the Warriors. No shame. Obviously losing to the 4-time champion, obviously, but the Kings, fans, we were really disappointed because we really were looking forward to them just winning a series and maybe potentially making a postseason run. But it is what it is. I'm looking forward to shout out my other boy, Salman. Obviously, he's a diehard Warriors fan. There's a lot of Warriors fans here in Sacramento too, in Northern California, right? So I mean that battle of Highway 80 is going to keep going on for a while. So anyways, let's just for you, and obviously the Lakers now, I believe if they win tonight, or whenever they played against the Memphis Grizzlies, they lost the
Memphis
last game.
Grizzlies.
Yeah,
the
they
Lakers
lost the
are up
last
3-2.
game, so now they're up 3-2, and they can go 4-2. Denver Nuggets, obviously, I believe they swept their series, or they won 4-1 against Minnesota, right? So, people need to stop sleeping on them too. Philadelphia
Gentlemen's
swept.
sweep.
Yeah, that was a sweep, and the Philadelphia 76ers as well. Joel Embiid, who's my pick for MVP, also had a sweep. So over the Nets, and so obviously, then obviously Katie and the Thunder. So kind of who's sticking out to you right now in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and what are you looking forward to in the next round, and obviously down the road?
Well, honestly, I'm really impressed by the Sacramento Kings, and even though they lost the last two, I'm really impressed by how they went out there and handled it. Like one of the games, they lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
And it was only because of lapse of judgment on a young player.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they beat Golden State.
Right.
Obviously, the Heat skated through on Eric Spoelstra. Normally I don't talk about Eric Spoelstra being a fantastic coach because we owe most of his success as we see it to LeBron James. But Eric Spoelstra outcoached, Milwaukee's coach last night.
Yeah, Budenholzer. Yep.
Eric Spoelstra noticed what he was doing. He made a move. Budenholzer reacted just like Spoelstra thought he would. And after he reacted, it left Jimmy Butler open because Brook Lopez came out the game.
Yeah.
Brook Lopez comes out the game, it's harder to guard that basket. Right. I think if Brook Lopez stays in that game, Jimmy Butler doesn't make that basket.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm not impressed by Golden State whatsoever. Like, what did Draymond say? It's the Kings.
Yeah.
Well, if it's the Kings, you should be rolling through them.
Yeah. Right.
You're not rolling through the Kings.
Yeah.
That's cool, but it's the Kings. So, there's that. I don't know if the Kings are gonna come back and make this a 7-game series. I'm not 100% positive if they can or can't. I do think that it'd be a lot better if we did see a 7-game series there. But if we don't see a 7-game series, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah.
The game is in LA tonight, right? With Lakers and Memphis.
I think so. Yeah, it's in LA.
I don't see a reason why LA doesn't win this game.
Absolutely. No, they should absolutely win this game. I mean, Memphis, being down with so many starters. I mean, in my estimation, I think the Lakers, they're actually they're an interesting case because it's kind of hard to really pinpoint how good they really are as a team. But now we're in the playoffs and they're about to advance out of the first round. Granted, they win tonight, take big care of business at home. There's a definite chance that, if they get a favorable matchup, but again, if the matchup is against Phoenix, I don't know, right? That's Katie and, Devin Booker and Chris Paul. That's too much firepower in my opinion. If it's a matchup against Denver per se, right? Or maybe a matchup against the Warriors, Lakers can definitely take advantage of those matchups, for multiple reasons. So, I think, like I agree with you kind of with the Warriors. I honestly feel like, if they're that team, they shouldn't have gone down 2-0 against the Kings, almost lose game 4 at home, obviously they won. So the fans say, yeah, they won, if they're the team that's going to continue, if they're a team that's going to make the finals, not saying that they won't make the finals, but I'm not as sold as them make on them as I was last season, where they're just kind of like, running roughshod through everyone and, leveraging their youth and their depth, to basically, give Curry and Clay and, Dre, some of that breathing room. So I'm looking, I mean, for the West, it's still kind of wide open, but I do think we do need respect. We need to add some respect on the name of the Denver Nuggets, right? Because I mean, we're not
Yeah,
really talking about them the same way we're talking about these other powerhouses, historical powerhouses in the West. And they've been the one seed all year. They just swept their first round opponent. There's a very good chance that they could, advance, out of the not only out of the second round, but even out of the West and win the West. And in the finals, it's anyone's game. So, I mean, obviously the Boston Celtics, they beat the Hawks last night. I wasn't that impressed with their win. Obviously, Trae Young's a great, fantastic young player, but I mean, I think, Boston also being that team, you got to close that out, not in 6, but in 4, Same the Warriors. If you're that team, you got to close out the Kings in 4, I mean, so I think that's kind of, I agree with all your points. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how it all shapes out. I mean, I'm hoping that LeBron, can make some magic happen if the Kings can't make it happen, because I'm a LeBron fan after being a Kings fan. And just, but we'll see. I mean, because, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's anyone's game, but I mean, LeBron being the all-time leading scorer, I think it would just be the perfect narrative. And now we're going to talk about, my favorite. I've been going to talk about this all week and all month, right? Since my last podcast. But I mean, kind of like, not saying it's scripted, but like, when you have the finish that basically fits the narrative of someone who's kind of, I'm not going to say deserves it, but kind of, it's fitting, if since LeBron eclipsed that scoring record this year, if he's able to, get that 5th ring, then it kind of just literally is kind of like a cherry on top. You know what I mean?
he
So,
gets a 5th ring, he changes the narrative about himself.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't think he's ever going to be able to get rid of that losing record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but if he doesn't win this year, he probably never doesn't win another one ever again.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I totally agree.
Like, I think he knows it's his chance.
Right.
I think the LeBron experiment is either gonna win this year or end this year. And I think the NBA will start to move on from him if he doesn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, LeBron, being 38 years old, kind of like Aaron Rodgers in a sense, but not necessarily, because LeBron has proven countless times he's been like that guy. Like, he's more, Aaron Rodgers is more just talent. LeBron has proven time and time again, making the finals with, basically bum ass squads. And, now you look at him, with his back against the wall, not necessarily back against the wall, but we've seen him do that with his back against the wall. We've never seen Aaron Rodgers do anything near to that. I don't know why. Like, we've seen Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
be in the situation where he's the 1 seed with a lead at halftime, lead in the 4th quarter in the NFC Championship game, and end up losing in overtime. You know, so I mean, that's just interesting to me. But I think LeBron James, if he's able to do it this year, I mean, we got it. Like you said, he changed the narrative about him. It puts him right up there with Jordan. It may not, but then again, no one may. I don't know if anyone will ever surpass Jordan. I was actually reading Wilt Chamberlain's autobiography, and I might do a podcast about that. With the view from above, and it was just so interesting to kind of see the parallels, between Wilt Chamberlain's personal, not necessarily his personal life, but it's just like his career and kind of how he was touted to be like one of the greatest, the most kind of freak athlete kind of players ever graced, professional sports, right? You're 7'1", you're
yeah,
250 or 300, you have a 50-inch vertical, you run a 40 and 4.4, like what the fuck? You know what I mean? So I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy, but yeah, I mean, yeah, man, NBA, it's exciting. Exciting, like, and I forgot to address your other point about Coach Bolstra. Yeah, a lot of his success was due to Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and the Miami Heat and the big three. But you've seen what he can do with Jimmy Butler. I mean, and maybe we need to put some more respect on Jimmy Butler's name, right? I mean, Jimmy Butler is a playoff competitor. He led the Heat to the finals, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, we'll see. If the Heat could definitely be in that mix too for making out the East. So it'll be interesting.
yeah. That's where we're at with that one. Like, honestly, I think it's gonna be good. I do see Denver making it to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think anyone else is gonna beat them.
Mm.
I see Denver making it to the finals.
Mm. All right.
I think I think if LA plays Denver, that'll be a good matchup.
Oh yeah.
But I think the only team that can stop them is LA. I don't see Golden State beating Denver.
No.
They're struggling pretty hard right now with Sacramento. So
Yeah. I mean, even though they won 3 straight, I mean, it's not convincing wins, like we said. If they that game 3 was convincing, but then the second game after that, where they almost won, if Harrison Barnes makes a 3 or Darren Fox executes down the stretch in the fourth quarter, we're having a different conversation today. We're talking about probably the Kings and their
exactly.
second round matchup. So I mean, to your point, I think Denver, we need to stop sleeping on and put some respect on the boys' names, because I mean, them boys can play, and they've proven time and time again this season with a 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic. He may not be the most athletic big man, but you got him, you got Jamal Murray. I mean, you got a bunch of ballers on that squad. So it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I can see Denver in the finals. I can see Miami in the finals. I could see the Lakers in the finals if they play to best ability. I can see the Suns in the finals. But I mean, again, it's going to come down to how well do these teams step up, and that's why NBA is so exciting this year, because there isn't a decided favorite in either conference. So it's interesting, and that to kind of see how it shapes out. All right, now we're going to transition to the next topic. Drum roll, please. Pro Wrestling WWE. All righty.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I see my boy wearing the We the One shirt. What's he busting out? Oh, he's busting out the universe. Oh no, the WWE Championship. Yes, sir. Put that thumb finger up. We the ones. We the ones. Ooh, so we the ones. All hail the tribal chief. Okay, he's been out for 2 months. You can put your finger down. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen him since. So I haven't seen him since WrestleMania.
Yeah, I've seen the WrestleMania. He's going to be gone for another month. So now on that topic, let's talk about
You
this,
knew he
right?
was taking that vacation.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's well earned. It's well earned, right? I mean, the money maker, the box office, when you do this consistently, even if you're part time, but you're able to bring the money and you're able to be attraction. And I want to remind wrestling fans, Roman Reigns was not part time and up until middle of last year. Roman Reigns for the almost the entirety of his reign, when he came back from injury in 2020, he beat the Fiend, for the Universal title. Then in 2021, he faced Edge and Daniel Bryan, beat them. I mean, then he kind of, was kind of part-time, not really. Then obviously the bloodline came to formation or fruition, right? And then obviously last year after he beat Brock, then he kind of adopted the part-time schedule. But then we saw some of the best riding with Sami Zayn. And like we talked about last time, Sami Zayn with the bloodline, one of the most compelling storylines in wrestling in years. I mean, and probably of this millennium or the past 25 years, in my opinion. So, I mean, again, back to the point, right? I think Roman Reigns, I mean, he's earned it. But now let's talk about kind of, what's best for business. What was best for business isn't necessarily a champion who is absent, and that's why I think, let's talk about WrestleMania for a bit. I think Cody Rhodes should have won at WrestleMania. That was on my birthday, by the way, folks. That was my birthday, and I was rooting for Cody. I went to the Kings game. The Kings lost to the Spurs, right? So that's one L. And then on WrestleMania, the night 2, the main event, I was hoping, obviously, like we talked about, Gunther had a great match with Sheamus and Drew, right? Obviously, another 5-star match with Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer has love favorite Drew, love favorite Gunther. I'm not sure what Gunther, I don't know why. But I think kind of the ending of it, I thought it was going to be the moment, where they kind of could have created and built their star. If Cody had won that main event on night 2 and beat Roman for the belts, I mean, we would have been having, I think it would have been box office. But then I also understand it from the other perspective of, the bloodline must be defeated internally for Roman to lose all his powers, right? Basically, like Thanos or whatever, right? You take away all the rings, then what do you have left, right? So, I mean, but again, let's just kind of talk about first. So actually, yeah, let's get into WrestleMania. I thought night 1 was perfect. I love Sammy versus Sammy and KO dethroning the Usos, the drama, and obviously the finish. With Sammy kind of doing the 3 hell of a kicks, and then being able to pin Jay for the for the win. I think obviously it was great writing and it was phenomenal. But kind of what was your take overall on WrestleMania?
So before I give you my take, I'll explain something very shortly.
Yeah.
To casual fans or just sports fans in general, because the show does have a lot of sports fans and a lot of casual fans that come on and they listen to us talk about this. Wrestling is unique in other sporting events because wrestling is scripted. And the characters that it's scripted for, the people portraying those characters don't always know who's going to win the match before the match starts. Sometimes they don't know until the middle of the match or the end, depending on the degree of secrecy that is required. For WrestleMania, almost no participants know what's going to happen before it starts. And that's because WrestleMania for years has had people leaking the results. Cody losing, it makes sense. Cody winning, it makes sense. Me personally, I would have, in a perfect world, Roman keeps the titles and Cody doesn't lose anything. We get the match of the year. Cody doesn't lose anything, and everybody rides off into the sunset super happy. But if you guys knew anything about the past, we watched Stone Cold Steve Austin defeat The Rock. We watched The Rock defeat Stone Cold Steve Austin. We watched Steve Austin defeat Shawn Michaels. Unfortunately, we watched Hulk Hogan defeat The Rock. I don't think that was the right call. We watched Triple H beat Booker.
Oh, yeah.
And we watched Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker. We watched The Undertaker beat Shawn Michaels. We watched Shawn Michaels retire Ric Flair. And then we watched The Undertaker beat Triple H. And then we watched The Undertaker retire Shawn Michaels. With those matches, you have to say that they all share something in common with this one. And that's what we all thought was going to happen didn't. And part of wrestling to me is suspending my disbelief of what I'm seeing on television. It looked to me as if Cody was going to take Roman to the cleaners. Cody was whipping his butt.
Yeah.
But the story of Roman Reigns isn't just the fact that Roman Reigns is a wrestler. The story of Roman Reigns is that Roman Reigns has become this tribal chief character. And that anyone would do anything for him to ensure that he keeps those titles, because those titles feeds his family. And who's his family? The bloodline. And even if they're not super happy about some of the treatment, even if they're a little bit shooketh about some of the treatment, they put the ones in the air. And they do that because they know that it's what's best for their family. So this new title that has been, shown to us by Triple H, which is, the new big gold, is beautiful, by the way. I think it's a beautiful title. Some people are complaining about the big giant WWE logo in the middle, but they have to understand branding and marketing. And I got to say, big logos are what sells. So big logos sell. And the fact of the matter is they give out championships to every team that wins. They give out championships to every television show that does great, that's not in opposition to them. And they send out these gifts to children and organizations and charities. And if you're going to brand something in a way that's subtle, but not subtle, you have to do it that way. And I think that anyone mad at them should be mad at AEW, because theirs is in the whole center plate. Oh, but it's a beautiful title. But there's a whole logo in the middle. What are you talking about? This is actually like the WWE logo on this big gold is smaller than the AEW logo.
Yeah.
It doesn't span across the entire plate. I get it. I like them both. I like both championships. I like the new one. I think we needed a new championship. Do I think that we should merge the two that Roman has? No, because at what AEW is proving is, contrary to popular belief, more belts does not mean less relevancy. It's about how you book them. because I remember one of the best times during the resurgence era of WWE. We had a Universal title, we had a World Heavyweight title, we had a brand new Intercontinental title, we had a brand new United States title, we have the NXT champion, the North American champion, we have the NXT UK champion. That's just on the men's side. We're talking 8 singles titles. Now, if you go back to the era that's even before that, the wonderful Attitude Era, let's count the men's singles titles.
Ooh.
we had the world title.
Yep.
We had the WWE title, which is the Winged Eagle in Big Blue. You had the European title. You had the light heavyweight title. You had the Intercontinental title. You had the United States title. You had the hardcore title.
Yep.
And then a step away, a couple of years later, you add together the ECW title and the Cruiserweight title.
Yes, sir.
So you had 9, and everything was smooth.
Right.
Well, why do we need that many championships? How many shows do they have? 3,
right.
Plus a weekly episodic programming for kids, Saturday night's main event, which if you ever go to a WWE show, they film it at Raw and SmackDown. So they need to have titles to be displayed on these shows. They need to have champions. Excuse me. It's only right that they do something with those titles. And I do think that with creative writing, all 3 are relevant. I don't think it's a mid-card title. I don't think the USA title is, the United States Championship is a mid-card title. I don't think the Intercontinental title is a mid-card title. I think we need to do away with the mid-card. And I think we need to start elevating these talented performers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. While you take a sip on that, I just want to chime in on what you just said, because you're basically hitting on a lot of massive points that I think are very important. Number one, and because I was actually watching the Attitude Era transitioning to the Ruthless Aggression Era, not too long ago, right, on Raw, back I was telling you this, right, I was watching, on Peacock, I was on WWE, 1999,
Yes,
2000, 1997, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, right before, the brand split, the brand split and everything. What was missing from the brand split was the fact that they consolidated or they eliminated a lot of the titles. Up before, August 2002, they had, like you said, the European title, they had the hardcore title, they had the Intercontinental title, and then when they introduced the big gold belt, you add that to the mix. Then because obviously you split the big gold belt from the Undisputed title. Undisputed becomes the exclusive WWE title for SmackDown. Big gold becomes the exclusive, title for Raw. And then they introduced the Cruiserweight title, with the introduction of Rey Mysterio and others. And I mean, that was great, to introduce that, or I guess it was already there, from the Invasion storyline, right? But when you eliminate the European title, you eliminate the hardcore title, you basically eliminate a lot of the airtime for a lot of these guys, who otherwise would not get that airtime, and I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because, like, for example, Johnny Stamboli, who was actually one of the best prospects in WWE, up to at that point in time, just by strength, size, appearance, and gimmick. You can look up a video of him on YouTube if anyone isn't aware. Johnny Stamboli actually, he gorilla pressed Rikishi, who I met, and is a big man, by the way. He's a gigantic man. I mean, if you meet him in person, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The man is over 450 pounds, even to this day. I don't know how his heart's still beating, but he's a massive man. Okay, and that shirt you're wearing right there, brother. He was actually having that on display because obviously Jay and Jimmy are his sons. Solo is his son. Roman is his nephew. Right. So, I mean, he basically said, we the one t-shirts, can buy it. I didn't, because I don't really care about Roman. I love Jay and Jimmy, and I love Solo, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion about Roman. But that, notwithstanding of my personal feelings, right? I ultimately, with the hardcore title, with the European title, with the Intercontinental title, and if you watch an interview with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, what they said was, because back before Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and the New Generation era came into play, the Intercontinental title wasn't really, it was there, but it was more of just like, it was like you said, the mid card. But Shawn Michaels said it was actually when Shawn and Bret came in, it became renowned as the workhorse title. The workhorse kind of guys who who have high work rates and are able to sell, able to do whatever they have to do to get over, or they get over naturally because they sell so well and they work so well. they basically, have that Intercontinental title as saying, yeah, this is the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. It's not just, like you said, a secondary or tertiary championship. It's a heavyweight championship. And it was definitely regarded as one of the best, or you have some of the best matches which came from the Intercontinental. To your point about the Cruiserweight division, right? WCW, let's go back there, right? Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, all these guys, Chris Jericho, they all came from the Cruiserweight division, WCW. People tuned in for WCW not to watch the main event, for the over-the-hill main eventers like Ric Flair, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan. No. They came in to watch the Cruiserweights. Eric Bischoff said that on his podcast, and he said on multiple viewings. The Cruiserweight division is what made WCW so marketable outside of, like the dominating storylines like Goldberg and the NWO. Cruiserweight division was fast. It was flashy. It was exciting. And, to your point, I really think WWE dropped the ball when they eliminated all these titles. If they kept the European title, if they kept the hardcore title, obviously they reintroduced the 24/7 title. That's great. And I guess maybe the European title was replaced with the US title. So be it. But if they let's say they have a European champion and a US champion, think about that. You have a European champion and a US champion, maybe on distinctive brands, and then you have the IC title. Which can be one tier above the two, because Intercontinental, right? It's not just US or European, but kind of IC and US are kind of viewed in the same vein, I guess, right? But I think ultimately when you remove those titles, and to your point, and you basically remove the airtime for a lot of those competitors who otherwise will not be main event guys and get the same airtime as the main guys, right? Because their spot in the company is not that high. So, but that's just my 2 cents on it. I really think that it was a dumb move for them to consolidate. But let's get back to the bigger point, and you can chime in on that after I finish this point, because I want to talk about what you just said about the big gold belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big gold belt is obviously the most famous belt in wrestling history, right? For many reasons, but like you said about branding, right? AEW basically puts AEW all over the belts, and all the fans of AEW, and I'm not AEW hater by any means, but they say, like you said, oh my God, look at this belt. It's so revolutionary. It's like this. It's not like this, it's like this, like a trapezoid. And so everyone's like, all right, this is phenomenal. But when the new heavyweight title, and now we're going to get into this, because I'm curious to get your thoughts. Obviously, we had the branding, but I think the reason why they had that branding isn't necessarily just because it is sustainable. It carries longevity. But I think ultimately, whoever wins that belt, whoever is the inaugural champion of that belt, you're gonna think of his name as synonymous with the WWE, like Roman, right? When you think Roman, you think about the two belts and the big W's right on the side. You're gonna think of that champion as not just WWE champion, but with the history. Because Triple H said in that promo, right, when he introduced the belt, this is going to be a champion for all of you guys to acknowledge and deserve, right? And I think he took some shots at Roman, but I mean, we can talk about that in a bit.
Oh, he took about 6 shots at Roman.
Right? So, it's branding, and it's going to be basically to make a statement, because now we're going to talk about this, because I want to know what your prediction is, because, we didn't really get about WrestleMania. That's fine. I'm curious to know, or what your thoughts are about who you think is going to get the belt. Because I now have a new champion's going to be crowned for that belt. And kind of what do you think is going to be the thought process and the writing behind that? Because the draft is happening tonight, on SmackDown, right?
Yes.
And we can predict that too in a bit. But what is your thought on kind of where you think that champion is heading? Because obviously you said you don't want them to unify the WWE title and the Universal title. You want to keep them and keep them all separate. And I mean, that would be great, because then you could have more champions and more airtime. But my personal gut feeling is telling me they're going to unify those titles, because when Triple H said they're splitting the brand and they're going to put one champion on one brand, the other champion on the other brand, right? It's basically, like what we just talked about, the ruthless aggression era, when Brock Lesnar signed SmackDown and Triple H became the world heavyweight champion on Raw, 2 distinct champions for 2 distinct shows, right? So who do you think is going to win the belt? And what is your thoughts on kind of what happens? Does it devalue the undisputed championship that Roman has been carrying for so long, or do you think it's going to help elevate it a little bit more?
So I think that I'm in the minority of people who believe that it's not going to devalue it. I personally believe that having Roman on his own show is fine. I personally believe that the person who wins the belt is going to be a previous champion. I don't think it's going to be Cody Rhodes.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. Hear me out. I think it's going to be Edge.
Edge. That's very curious. And why?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Edge never lost the world heavyweight title.
Okay, that's true.
Edge currently has two people who he hates. The two people who he hates just so happen to have had a little mini tiff on Monday Night Raw about that very belt. That's Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. Two of the three of them never lost that title. Finn Balor never lost the Universal title. Seth Rollins, and Edge never lost the World Heavyweight title. I feel like if you're going to bring things full circle, Edge says this is his last year competing, and then he rides off into the sunset in retirement again. I think Edge gets that belt. I think what you do is you don't advertise so much that Edge gets it, and you let Edge feud with these guys, but let those guys feud with each other more. You make it a triple threat match in Saudi and Night of Champions, and Edge comes out on top. The Saudis would love to see Edge win a championship.
Wow, that is a bombshell. You heard it here, folks. Edge is winning the world championship. Now I'm gonna get my take. I agree with everything you said, but I don't think it's gonna be Edge because WWE doesn't. Putting the whole stipulation of splitting the belt was because Triple H said in the promo that part-time champions and Seth Rollins promo, part-time champions are not good. So unless there's double cross planned for the fans, I really think they're not going to go the route of going up with the Hall of Fame part-time competitor. So I'm thinking it's going to be either Cody or Seth freaking Rollins, only because I think one of those two. We saw Seth cut that great promo, and you saw Cody. One thing about the WWE, which I noticed, when they have an undisputed champion, or they have a new champion kind of be introduced, they usually don't allude to who that champion's going to be, and that's part of the beauty of the script, right? Because the reason I'm saying that is because if you recall, kind of when Eddie Guerrero was feuding from up until late 03 to early 04. You weren't ever hearing Eddie Guerrero being like in the mix of the WWE Championship, right? It wasn't until right before No Way Out he won that Battle Royale on SmackDown, and then the 1 month prior they said, okay, we're going with Eddie. Granted, Vince's thought process might be different than Triple H's, right? I don't know kind of how they vary, but this is just kind of what I've noticed, historically. Kind of what you said, about fans, not being given what we want for instant gratification. I do understand the kind of the other perspective of kind of, okay, yeah, you want to see Cody finish the story, you want to see him get the WWE title again from Roman at SummerSlam, dethrone him for the belts, let Roman his 1,000 days, 3 years, and then you basically beat him for whatever. If it's 1 or 2 belts, you beat him, he finishes the story, case closed, right? But they can go that route, but I think Cody Rhodes being a fully dedicated full-time performer. I think Seth Rollins, obviously, as well, like you said, being a former champion and being another fully dedicated full-time performer, there's something to be said about kind of how they appeal to fans. Seth and Cody are basically the only two faces right now who I think are big enough to basically carry their own brand. The only other person who I'd say would kind of be in that mix might be Gunther, because Gunther has obviously been putting on classic shows, but I don't know how big of a draw he is. I know we talked about extensively how great of a worker he is. How good of a draw is Gunther? Does he sell merch? Because right now, even though Roman was selling a shit ton of merch, Cody was actually right up there with that last month. And Seth, right, number 3 is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Seth. So it's marketing. Marketing is a huge part of kind of how they go about it. It's obviously, giving the fans what they want. I think Cody is basically, to reverse a bad booking decision. That's why they came up with this belt in the first place. Not letting Cody get over at WrestleMania when they should have, to create that star that they desperately needed. They basically are going to try to remediate that. They might give it to Cody. They might give it to someone else. I don't know. Right. But I would say Seth is my other choice, only because I mean, he's the only one who makes sense, like you said, being a former champion, being a full-time performer, and kind of like you said, the belt's gonna need some credibility to start. It's gonna need some weight. It could, I mean, very well could be, let's say, an Edge or Rey Mysterio, but I mean, I think Rey, they're gonna keep him working the LWO, kind of feuding the Judgment Day for a bit. And then obviously, they keep that faction battle going. I mean, Ray's obviously a 3-time world champion. He doesn't need it. So
Right. Right.
yeah, I mean, it's it's interesting. It's gonna be interesting how which direction they go, because I really honestly don't know. So anyways, let's talk about Backlash. Which matchup are you looking forward to next week? And what are you predicting, I guess, as like an aftermath from Backlash?
Do you have the card pulled up?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's go through the card, because that makes life so much easier on us.
Yes, sir. I'm not even gonna do this. I'm not gonna wait for my computer. I'll pull it right here. Backlash 2023 in Puerto Rico. By the way, Raw last week or this past week, Bad Bunny, you killed it in Chicago. Let's give Bad Bunny some love, man.
Bad Bunny is the man.
The man.
Bad Bunny is the man. I like me some Bad Bunny.
And speaking of which, look at the poster.
And the poster is Bad Bunny and Damian
Yes,
Priest.
sir. Puerto Rico. Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. Okay, let's go through this card. Starting off, number 1, Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso with Paul Heyman. 6-man tag match.
Oh, we're starting there.
Yeah.
I want to say that the Usos are going to win their titles back.
But that match is tonight on SmackDown. This is Backlash.
The Usos will win their title back tonight on SmackDown.
Okay, yeah. So then let's talk about Backlash then. So they win tonight at SmackDown. Then who wins the 6-man tag match?
They'll lose a 6-man tag match at Backlash.
Okay, all right. But
it'll be like a disqualification loss.
You know what though? I think kind of with that though, because I mean, I want to explore that a little bit. Kind of because I mean, I think it's a valid point. The Usos, if they win the titles back tonight, I'm thinking that there's going to be some friction, even as champions. There's going to be a lot of friction between them, and because you can kind of see it with Jay, Solo, Jimmy. It's Jay's kind of with that conflicted character, right? So it makes sense if they win tonight and then they lose the tag match. So then kind of shows you, kind of builds that overarching kind of story of the bloodline is not unified. There's no aisle relevancy. It's just Roman kind of by himself. And because if you remember on Raw, right, how Sammy kind of got in Jay's head and Jimmy kind of went back to Sammy to kind of get back in his head. There's a lot to be said about that. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be a good match. I can't wait.
The only reason that I say that they win their titles back is because Sammy's not welcomed in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And if Sammy's not welcome in Saudi Arabia, I don't know how he can defend the championship on Night of Champions, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, or maybe they find a loophole. Maybe MBS, the Prince and Vince, they have a, I don't know, they have a handshake agreement back end. I
think Sammy doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, I think Sammy doesn't want to be
there. He might not come home.
All righty, Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, second one on the card. That's pretty high up. Shit.
Cody beats Brock.
Yeah. Cody beats Brock. He continues the storyline of finishing the story. See, this is kind of why I'm picking Cody to win the World Heavyweight title, but I could be completely wrong, because obviously I can see them, kind of keeping him with Roman so that because he's one of the only credible ones to beat Roman. But then the reason I'm saying it's Cody or Seth, because I think whoever doesn't win that match are now champions, they're going to be the ones to basically dethrone Roman on the other brand. Because Seth,
I think Cody beats Roman at SummerSlam.
And so, right. And so, because if you recall Seth kind of talking about, Roman Reigns, kind of, being the champion, but he remember on this promo on Raw, he said that, he beat everyone on the list, but he said, I was not on the list because Seth won by no DQ or by DQ, Seth won the match. Yeah. So Roman pinned or submitted everybody, right? But not Seth. And so both of them kind of have that arc. with Roman, where they can kind of take it and they can run with it. So I'm really compelled to see if they introduce Cody and Seth. I really want it to be Cody and Seth, but we'll see. So okay, Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Rhea Ripley wins 28 seconds.
Yeah, love me some Zelina though. All right, back to my guy Seth. Seth freaking Rollins versus Omos with MVP.
Seth beats Omos in a 4-minute match.
Ooh, 4 minutes.
The only way that Seth doesn't beat Omos in a 4-minute match is if the Hurt Business gets involved.
And her business is like gone, so
which is weird though, because they were on Raw.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Randomly you had Cedric and Shelton teaming up together. Let's call them the Not Hurt Business for now.
Not her business, yes, sir. Okay. Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed, triple threat match for the US title.
Bronson Reed wins the match.
Ooh, Bronson Reed, new US champion.
Yeah, he's being pushed too hard to not win the match.
He is. So the question is, if they push him to win the match, then what happens to Theory? Is he going to be the new champion?
The world champion? Theory will insert himself into the World Heavyweight Title Championship.
Yeah, he's there's gonna be something there. I think I think Theory will be somehow, because I mean they've been trying to push Theory to the moon for a while. I think the reason why they haven't done it as of yet is because it's not credible for Theory to win the belt at 25. He's gonna be 26 in August.
Yeah,
he will be credible because the reason. So Brock Lesnar is the youngest WWE champion ever. Randy Orton is the youngest world heavyweight champion. So the youngest world champion, cumulatively, is Randy. Then you have Taker and Rock.
Yeah. You think about youthful champions, not necessarily champions who were young, but give me 5 youthful champions in the last 35 years.
Okay. Undertaker 91, 26. Yokozuna 92 or 93, 26. The Rock in 98, 26. Lesnar 2002, 25. Orton 2004, 24.
How old was Shawn Michaels when he won?
Almost 31, but 30.
How old did he look?
Oh yeah, he looked 25. What you mean? 24.
I don't think that Theory is better than any of them.
Oh, absolutely not. No. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I don't think that Theory is. I think John Cena was right. And I think his promo was mean, but I think that it was entirely accurate.
Yeah.
I think his promo was the same as Shawn Michaels' promo that he had on Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
And I think that it would have been better for a Theory to lose against John Cena.
Yeah, no, I think it would have been. Because the problem with the way he won, because he didn't win clean, and the match was garbage. I mean, you look at the reviews and everyone on Twitter, the match between Theory and Cena was absolute garbage. Not a pay-per-view match. That was a match for Raw or SmackDown, just second or third match on the night. That's how bad that match was. Okay. If he lost to Cena, like sometimes in this business, the psychology of the wrestling business, you can hear Kane talk about it, you can hear Austin talk about it, you can hear any of the greats, like you said, Cena talk about it. Sometimes when you lose, you get made. You gain more in losing. You get more over. When Kane lost the WWE title to Austin after winning it after one night before, he got made. The Big Red Machine was born. The Bar of Destruction came a few months after that. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
And then Kane became a Hall of Famer. So, I understand WWE trying to, still kind of, but the formula is, again, that's kind of why I was talking about the difference between Triple H and Vince. The formula doesn't work anymore. The formula of having your guy win just because you need him to get over, and then thinking that because he wins against an established name, even if it's in the worst possible fashion, dirty or clean, you think that the fans will buy into it. Fans are not buying into it. Theory, he's a great young talent. Don't get me wrong. I think he's phenomenal, but like you said, Cena's right. No one's believing him because we don't think he believes himself. I'm sitting here just like asking myself, is this, I don't want to say I think he's trying too hard, but He's trying too hard. I really feel like he's trying
He
too
is.
hard.
He is trying too hard.
You know, and I mean the promos, everything. He has the look, he has everything, but like Bobby Lashley said, I mean, and Lashley's probably not one of the best mic kind of guys. He doesn't have good mic skills, but I mean, I thought his promo on Raw was pretty spot on. He's like, Theory, you're running from challenges. Actually, no, let me take that back. I don't think Theory is going to be put over yet. I think WWE want to kind of work him a little bit in the US title, the mid card a little bit more before they can really push him to the moon, so to speak. I think
Agreed.
again, the age factor, and then kind of, I mean, there needs to be some organic kind of getting over before you can really kind of, get the belt. I mean, because I think they learned from Roman, over the past 9 or 10 years when they tried to, force Roman to be face, I mean, and history repeats, obviously you had The Rock prior to that. Some people are just not like Rock as Rocky Maivia was not going to work, right?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Roman as a face was not going to work, so I think there's a reason for that. But feel free to chime in on anything else on that match, because I think that's going to be a great match, all things considered.
I think that that Theory does not come out on top of this match. I think Bronson Reed comes out on top of him, man. Like I think that might be the unpopular opinion here, but I think that Bronson Reed comes out on top.
Yeah, no, it'll be great. Okay, next match: Bianca Belair versus Io Sky with Damage Control for the Raw Women's Championship.
Bianca ain't losing that title.
Yeah, Bianca's winning that shit. Main event: Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, San Juan Street Fight.
Bad Bunny wins.
San Juan, not too far from me. The San Juan Road.
Bad Bunny's not losing in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Bad Bunny, bro. I love hearing him speak English during his promo. Damian. I never heard him speak English up to that point, and it was fine. It was great. And then Damian Priest, obviously, he's actually one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best workers and kind of one of the best storytellers, like just, as a wrestler, because he makes you believe he's like so angry. Like, he said, I'll kill you, cerveza, something in Spanish. And I was like, oh my God, he actually means it,
Yeah, he does.
And, yeah. And so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Let's actually talk about one more thing, because I mean, I want to go back to your point about the brands and kind of, I honestly think, this is unpopular, but I think that brand splitting 02 made WWE more interesting, because like I said about guys that have enough airtime, you had the guys come in from the invasion from WCW and ECW, and then you split the brands, and everyone was able to get more airtime. But then also, if you kept the belts, and they even got me more airtime on top of being, on a dedicated roster, on a dedicated show. Because if you have one champion on both brands, it's kind of hard, right? To kind of really, get everyone in the mix, you only have so much time. And actually, let me ask you this. What do you think about LA Knight? Vince's decision not to have him on Mania. A lot of the fans feel like he should be a champion. What do you think about him right now?
I think LA Knight I think he needs to develop a better finisher, and then he'll be a champion.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he can develop a better, like, same with Austin Theory, like, your finishing move sucks.
His finishing move is just basically go to sleep.
Right. Like, Austin Theory like mixed the stunner with go to sleep.
Yeah.
LA Knight basically did the same thing. Austin Theory added the F5 and the FU and the AA to it. So it's a convoluted thing. Like, one of the things that makes some champions really great is how simple their finishing maneuvers are.
Yeah.
And also the ability to hit your finishing maneuver out of nowhere. Austin Theory has to set up for his. You're not hitting that out of nowhere. LA Knight has to set up for his. You're not hitting that out of nowhere. Cody hitting that out of nowhere. Cody can hit any of his two finishers out of nowhere. Seth Rollins can hit his out of nowhere. Bobby Lashley out of nowhere. Roman out of nowhere. The Rock out of nowhere. Stone Cold out of nowhere. Randy Orton out of nowhere. Shawn Michaels, legitimately the king, the inventor of out of nowhere.
Yes, sir.
And make it convincing. Like, you've heard many of experts say this before, but Michaels took a super kick and made it sweet chin music.
Yeah.
And there's never been a sweeter kick, other than maybe Dolph Ziggler doing sweet chin music, in all of sports entertainment. Sometimes the flash is in how believable it is.
Right.
I don't see Austin Theory as being very believable.
Yeah.
Like Shawn Michaels is going to super kick Omos. The Usos are going to super kick Omos. Roman's going to spear Omos. He's going to Superman punch Omos. Bobby Lashley already did it. What I'm saying is, I don't see Austin Theory lifting Omos off his feet and doing that. I see Brock doing it, but even Brock had a tough time with Omos. Austin Theory is not Brock. Austin Theory is not John Cena. Austin Theory's got a lot of work to do, and I think he wants to do it, but I think he needs to switch his character up just a bit. The difference between turning into a jerk character is The Rock and Stone Cold and all these other characters that turn into jerk heels. They knew the element of the heel was not in just being a jerk. Or look at professional heel Dolph Ziggler. It's not just about being a jerk. It's about you taking yourself so seriously, yet you're annoying. I never looked at The Rock as annoying. I never looked at Ziggler as annoying. Like these characters weren't annoying characters. Austin Theory is legitimately an annoying character. He has annoying promos. He has an annoying entrance. He has an annoying persona. And I don't see him being able to sustain that at a championship level.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately think that, your points are massive. I mean, there needs to be, like you said, some tweaks with the character. Like I want to bring up Dominic Mysterio, who's actually the same age as Theory, but you can see how well after that WrestleMania match, how well the heel has kind of grown organically with Dom. If you remember on SmackDown after WrestleMania, do you remember how much heat he got? Do you remember how much heat he got on that show? The fans were just going ballistic when he didn't even get to talk. He just grabbed the mic and you could just hear the heat. Obviously, in Southern California, where Rey Mysterio, right, 619, legend, and obviously Rey's entrance at WrestleMania was phenomenal too. It was great to see him, kind of, and people are saying, "Oh, Dom needed that win," but no, he didn't need that win. Again, what we just talked about, the psychology of the fucking business. You want to get over, you don't need to win.
Yeah, you don't always need to win to get over.
No, in fact, sometimes WrestleMania 13. One of my guests, 2-time guests of the show, Ken Shamrock, was the guest referee for the match between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Who won that match?
Bret Hart won that match.
And who got over?
Stone Cold Steve Austin got over.
It's that simple.
I mean, how do you think, like, Shawn Michaels got over from losing lots of matches?
Right.
I hate when people talk about, oh, Shawn was on Reign of Terror. Did they forget how many matches he had to lose?
Yeah.
He lost against The Undertaker. He lost against Diesel. He lost against Steve Austin. He lost against The Rock. He lost against Yokozuna. He lost against Hulk Hogan. He lost against Ric Flair. He lost against Triple H. He lost against Rick Rude. He lost against Lex Luger. He lost against Macho Man Randy Savage. The list continues. He was known as a worker, which is why he was basically gifted the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
Which he lost to Razor Ramon.
Yep.
Like, that's one thing that I liked about Shamrock when he came on this show, this very show. Shamrock did not fall for the crap that people keep putting out. Shamrock told you how it really was and who really was the person that was doing the most. I'm not going to get mad at a performer for believing in himself, and I'm not going to get mad at a performer for putting over other people. Here's the thing. Austin Theory's not putting anybody over.
No.
Austin Theory's not over himself.
Nope.
And people trying to put Austin Theory over just makes him look weaker.
Right.
Austin Theory, not credible beating Bobby Lashley. Decorated combat veteran. Literally. Not going to beat. Doesn't sound very convincing. John Cena. You're John Cena. That's all you got to say. Can't see me. You shouldn't have. You lost on the technicality. He did tap out, and that's why every time Theory gets a mic, all the fans yell, "You tapped out! You tapped out! You tapped out!" So my advice to you, Theory, as a lifelong fan, as somebody who likes to put butts in seats, and somebody who goes out and plays with as much flair that I can possibly muster on my platform, you need to come up with something that makes people say, "I like that."
Simple.
I don't know very many people saying, look at Austin Theory and saying, I like that. What are you? You're just a, you're not CM Punk. You're not the show off. You're not the mathlete. You're not right to censor even. You're not the Godfather. You don't like, there's a lot of things about today's society of wrestling that is not as fun as when we were growing up. I'm a fan of the gimmicks. Today's wrestling has a lot less gimmicks. Now you're basically, I'm Joe regular guy who also wrestles. And I don't buy Austin Theory as a playboy. I don't buy him as a womanizer. I don't buy him as a bully. I don't buy him as a kid that didn't get picked on in school. I don't buy that. I don't buy you as a collegiate athlete even, and you probably were, but I don't buy it because you're 26, you're young, you're athletic looking, and you can't beat anyone without cheating. And you don't even cheat good. If you're gonna cheat, cheat good. Eddie Guerrero cheated great.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Matter of fact, we like to see Eddie Guerrero cheat.
Oh yeah.
We loved it.
Yes,
We
sir.
loved it. We bought the shirts. Cheat to win.
Lie, cheat, and steal, baby. And I think kind of, yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think the lack, again, organic. It's okay. So it's simple. I mean, either you're over or you're not. And who decides if you're over? Us, the fans.
We do.
We buy in or we don't. It's simple. That's why John Cena, what he said, WWE has a pumping fake, making the pumping crowd noise, so people can pretend can feign interest in your matches. They did the same thing for Roman Reigns, where Roman was a face. They edited the matches so you can only get the reactions that were highs. You didn't get the full reaction of people booing, of people uninterested, and people just not buying Roman as a face, right? And so I think the problem is Theory. He looks like too nice of a guy. I mean, he's pretty. I mean, like, he's a pretty boy. I mean, I get that, but he doesn't look like someone who's like, really that, that much of a heel. I think, but again, I mean, we don't need to spend all day talking about Theory. I just think it's, I totally agree with you because it's a larger overall point. If you look at Cody, even though he lost, I mean, he's still massively over. I mean, he's still like, I mean, the whole Brock Lesnar feud. I mean, he's getting huge pops in Chicago, wherever he goes. And I think that's why he's going to be a world champion this year. The question is when. Like you predict SummerSlam, I predict potentially Night Champions, if not SummerSlam. So I mean, it's I mean, they're fortunate they have the guys. They still have staples like a Seth, like a Cody, but the future is in question because unless they really push guys like Dominic Mysterio, who is like a natural heel, on like a legitimate singles run, then if they keep pushing guys like Theory just because he has the look, it's not gonna end well for the company long term.
No, it's not gonna end well for the company long term. And I didn't like Austin Theory's first gimmick. I don't like this one. I think he just needs to keep evolving. And I wish him the best of luck in doing so because I think that he does add something. I just don't know what it is yet.
Hopefully find out soon. Okay, now we're going to close out this episode with who was the wrestler when you were born? For me, it was the Ultimate Warrior, who won the WWE. Sorry, who was WWE champion when you were born? For me, it was Ultimate Warrior who won the WWE championship on April 1st at WrestleMania 6, and I was born the next day on April 2nd. So it's pretty funny. So I actually watched the Warrior documentary, The Dark Side of the Ring, and it was pretty interesting to see, how Warrior, went through all of his demons and he still came back and he was able to do some phenomenal things. So To my co-host Cortez, who was the WWE champion when you were born, and do you have any connection to that wrestler at all?
I gotta think, who was the champion when I was born?
If I'm
I
not mistaken, I think
believe.
it was Hulk Hogan.
Let me think. I
Actually, let me
believe.
check. I'm gonna check for you. That way you don't have to think too much.
I don't know if there was a champion when I was born.
No, I think there was. Let me find it.
I believe the champion was Hulk Hogan on his 4-year reign of terror before he
I
lost to Andre the Giant.
believe you are correct. Yes, sir. It was
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan.
I believe. Yeah, it was Hulk Hogan. He was on his 4-year reign of terror of coincidentally not defending the belt. I believe that was the period of time where Hulk Hogan had 2 to 3 different title belts that he never defended before losing to Andre the Giant. I don't, me personally, I know that without Hulk Hogan, the wrestling business wouldn't be where it is today.
Yep.
And it would never have gotten to an attitude era.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have gotten to a golden era.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that one of the people responsible for wrestling being as great as it is also one of the people responsible for holding wrestling back. So there's a love-hate relationship when it comes to Hulk Hogan and his career. I think Hulk Hogan is still stuck in the 80s. I think that he doesn't realize that the fans are not on his side anymore. And I think that he didn't really want to refresh, because once he became the man, he just, like, I've seen him outside of a ring. I've seen him outside of a promo. I've seen him living his regular life, as most of us had who watched this show. Terry Bollea is not very interesting. Hulk Hogan is. That's the best way I can say it.
It's that simple. And I think, it's funny because Hulk Hogan, back, because I told you I was watching, 02 Raw and SmackDown, and Hulk Hogan, the first champion of the WWE, basically WWE when it became WWE officially in 2002 was Hogan. Ironically, because he beat Triple H at Backlash, which is, the event we're just talking about 21 years later, right? And it was all branding, obviously. It was all branding, it was all marketing. And obviously Undertaker took the belt from, I think Hogan didn't even have the belt. He had it for just literally like exactly 4 weeks. And then Undertaker grabbed it from it, and he had it over like almost like a 2.5 month reign as champion. And Undertaker is funny. Undertaker is the only man to beat Hogan in the palindrome years, meaning 91, because Slaughter beat Warrior for the belt. Hogan beat Slaughter, then Taker beat Hogan. So, and then 2002, then our palindrome, Hogan beats H, and then Taker beats Hogan.
The only person that Hogan wanted to ever lose to was the Undertaker.
Yeah,
he didn't want to put over anybody. He believed that the reason that he could lose to the Undertaker was because the Undertaker didn't need to be over.
Let me ask you this, because you just brought up an interesting point. Because I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching, because people were saying, why didn't Hogan put over Michaels or Randy Orton at SummerSlam 05 and 06? And then Hogan's response was that, he said, I had put over so many wrestlers prior to that. He put over The Rock at WrestleMania 18. He put over Undertaker. No, Undertaker wasn't really, no, so he didn't center. He said Kurt Angle like King of the Ring. He put over Brock Lesnar right before SummerSlam in 2002. But that my personal thought was that, okay, but that was 2002, bro. Like after 2002, 2003, you beat Vince at WrestleMania 19. You come back as Mr. America and you start winning, and then you leave again. You come back in 05 with Shawn Michaels. You win your match against Parmesan Daivari, who asked Kurt Angle about. And then you beat Michaels at SummerSlam when you were really supposed to set up the trilogy, and Michaels was there to do business, and you weren't willing to do business because of your ego. And then the following year, you basically follow that up with a stinker to open up SummerSlam 06 against Randy Orton, who should have got the win.
It turned into Michael's match with him turned into one of the funniest matches that I've ever seen. Matter of fact, if I have time, I'll probably go back and watch that match again today, because it was probably one of the funniest matches I've ever seen that wasn't intended to be comedy.
Yeah, no, Michaels was overselling the shit out of every move, and he was so every time
you remember the one where like my favorite part of that match was when Hogan goes to like Irish whip Michaels, and Michaels flies out the ring.
Oh my God.
The crowd was just like, oh my God, because he just flew out the ring. Like, what just happened to Shawn Michaels?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've seen a couple where Triple H did the same thing with extreme selling, and I've seen The Rock do some really extreme selling.
Oh, The
especially
Rock
with
is
the Stone
the
Cold Stunner.
king. The stunner? What the flying fuck, dude? Like I did, and I saw The Rock with Eddie Guerrero. And I saw The Rock with Eddie Guerrero in 02 because after The Rock took the belt from Taker in 02, after we talked about Taker, right? We took from Hogan. Then The Rock had a match with Eddie Guerrero on Raw, and it was almost like a pre like it was almost like I want to say was a foreshadow of Eddie Guerrero. What was to come? Eddie basically being the main event with the undisputed champ, and Eddie was able to counter the Rock bottom into lasso. It was just phenomenal. And then the Rock was overselling the shit out of all his moves. But that's what made the Rock such a great pro, because he made his opponents look great. Shawn Michaels made his opponents always look great. The Rock always made his opponents look great, right? And again, and that's the problem with Hogan. You know, I mean, he just stopped caring and just cared about himself at a certain point. And
well, he ruined Yokozuna's title victory.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
was
dude,
what?
come on.
Champion for what? 10 seconds?
For 10, what was it? 1 second, and then I mean, and then after that, then they did the same thing with Bret Hart, you know, with Yokozuna, because Yokozuna beats Hogan, and then Bret basically beats Hogan, or Yokozuna beats Hogan. Then the next year, I think was it? I forget. Then Bret beats Yokozuna after one, or I don't know, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think, you know, Hogan was just such an egotistical maniac. You saw what happened in WCW. You know, the Bash of the Beach 2000 incident, you know, obviously carried over to WWE, but like you said, that match, Shawn Michaels, was classic. And, you know, I think that's just kind of his legacy. It's a very complicated legacy. It's not a linear legacy of, you know, he was either 2 up or 2 down. It's, you know, he was up, and then he was kind of, you know, he went up, he was kind of stale, and then he went down a little bit, came back up with NWO, then he kind of, you know, was down again after WCW folded, and he came back to WWE, and then he you know, was back up, and then he basically went back down. Like you said, you know, Hogan's knows best and all those shows, and I mean, obviously the racism, you know, I mean,
WCW racism, coming back, doing weird promos when no one's cheering for him.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. I mean, stuff like that is just, you know, I mean, there's no business for it. So, but anyways, alrighty. So, in the summary, Backlash, you got our picks for Backlash. Now champions, you got our picks for the new world champion. You know, got our picks for we're going all the way to SummerSlam. Anything else we didn't cover from wrestling front?
I mean, I really wish I knew exactly what was going on with AEW. They gotta fix some things.
Yeah, man. It's kind of hard. I want to get into it. I really do. But like JAS, Sammy Guevara is exactly what Austin Theory is in WWE.
They're exactly the same. They're the same character, except Sammy's a little bit more talented as far as wrestling goes.
Yeah, but I still can't watch him because I mean,
No,
I don't. I mean,
they're the same character,
right? Exactly. And I mean, I can't buy into that character. Like when he's on the mic, I can't.
Like I get down. I understand MJF's character, but once again, it's kind of like
it's Miz 2.0.
You're a weasel. Like, you're worse Miz. And I'm not trying to devalue the Miz, because I actually love the Miz.
Yeah.
You know I love the Miz.
Yes, sir.
I'm not devaluing the Miz. He's done an excellent job with the character. The problem is he's stuck.
Yeah.
Miz is stuck, and MJF, you got there so fast. What are you going to do now?
And you know what? You bring up an interesting point. I think that's why they waited for Cody. The same reason they waited for Austin.
Why? It's some 100% reason why they waited for Cody.
Yeah.
Because what are they going to do next?
Right.
Like, what are they going to do next with Cody if Cody would have beat Roman? The bloodline's not done. Roman's going on vacation either way. What are they going to do next with Cody, though? What? Because they made this mistake with Kofi Kingston. Kofi has nothing to do, on top of the fact that he's injured. But after Cody lost his title, nothing ever paid off.
And his reign was so lackluster. I mean, like you said, Kofi Mania, like you said this on our last episode. You said they ruined Kofi Mania because of the fact of what happened after Mania and how he basically just ended up losing the match in a squash to Brock Lesnar or losing the title,
Yeah,
to
like
Brock. Yeah,
he was champion for 6 months, and he went around beating everyone for 6 months, and everyone was invested. But you lost in 13 seconds to Brock Lesnar. That doesn't do anything for your title reign. Does nothing for it. And I know Kofi hates that. I know he hates that he agreed to it. And if he didn't agree to it, it's rough business.
yes, sir. Rough business, and I think kind of to that point, one more thing. Booker T agreeing to Triple H. I mean, you can hear him on his podcast talk about it. Basically like, he said that, when he went to the back, their fans, basically saying they wanted to win. And even though he's a professional, he said he let them down. And I mean, it's nature of the business. Even the Undertaker talking about Brock Lesnar, I mean, basically when Vince, made the audible to change the finish on the day of, to help elevate Brock, Taker up. I'm sure he would give anything to reverse that or basically take that back, because everyone agrees it would be much better if he lost to Roman at WrestleMania 33 instead of Brock, 3 years prior. Because if he lost to Roman, I think what would he be 24, 21? Because he'd be 22, he'd be 25-0, and then he lose to Roman, be 25-0, 25-1, 25 straight victories, 25 years, and then you drop number 26. So I mean, again, I mean, but I think now with Cody, I mean, they're definitely, I mean, if they're still going the Roman route with Cody, that's fine. So be it. It's gonna pay off, because remember, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart wanted to lose the belt to Austin before he left for WCW, but Vince chose Shawn Michaels because Vince was about the slow and steady build of Austin taking it at WrestleMania when he got Tyson to sign. He was waiting on Tyson to sign and have Austin get over on DX, and boom, right? And the same thing with John.
Cody takes that title from Roman in SummerSlam. That's my prediction. I think if Roman's healthy enough to fight, Cody takes it from him at SummerSlam.
Yeah, Cody's gonna take it from him, which is fine, But I mean, I just don't want to wait. I mean, I'm kind of interested in gratification. I want to see Cody get the belt now. I basically have a few autographs from.
I'm going to say that it's not going to be the way that everybody thinks. I think Solo turns on Roman first. I think Solo turns on Roman first, and I think the Usos take a vacation.
Wow.
But after their next, they lose us. I think the Usos win the titles and then lose them at SummerSlam.
Okay.
I think the entire bloodline, except for Solo, will be gone by SummerSlam.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think, no, but I mean, I disagree with your order. I think the order is going to be the Usos first, and then Solo, like you said, will be the last one with Roman, and then Solo's going to turn on Roman, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said the Usos lose that title, and then Solo turns on them.
Yeah. Well, that's if the Usos win it. Otherwise, Usos might just break up like now, and then it's just Solo when Roman comes back, and then basically then we're left dealing with Roman and Cody.
Exactly.
With Solo, and then that's gonna be great. So, alrighty. I think we're right at time. So, anyways, thank you all for listening to this episode. My co-host the most, Cortez, branch number 24. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Hey guys, my band's dropped. So if you don't mind, to check out one of the links that we got posted. If you guys buy those bands, there's a red, white, and blue band that you'll see with my name and number on it. It supports me and my football endeavors. There's also a purple one if you guys are on the West Coast and love you some Lakers. Go ahead and pick those up. There's a code especially for you. It's called 2 for 10. You get 2 bands for $10, shipped to your house, and they expedite the shipping. If you click that, I greatly appreciate it. You guys have been wonderful. I like the feedback that we get on this show. As always, Ali, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, we love your feedback. Be sure to subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, follow us wherever you want, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify. Actually, no longer Anchor now, it's podcast. No, it's podcast.
Oh, so I'm gonna throw out a nugget here, and maybe me and you can talk about it. But I'm gonna say we might want to start taking a look at some Rumble content.
Rumble.
Rumble is pretty good so far. Like I'm enjoying some Rumble.
All righty, sounds good. All right, we'll definitely check out Rumble. We'll definitely get into that. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. For co-host Cortez, your host Asif Ali, we are out.